Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Beware of the Silver Orb. Let's explore. If you see one of these around, well, you may want to be very cautious on how you approach it, based off of a new and ambitious cryptocurrency that wants to scan your eyeball in exchange for cryptocurrencies. Now, this particular Silver Orb is not one you need to be afraid of. This was actually produced, custom made for me by a member of the community quite a number of years ago. I still treasure it to this day. And it is a completely spherical silver little ball, little orb. Pretty neat little thing. And what I'm talking about is different. It is silver in color, but it does a lot more than just look pretty. Investors are raced to capitalize on surging interest in cryptocurrencies. Startups are getting creative in how they onboard a generation of crypto users to their first wallets. WorldCoin is perhaps one of the most audacious efforts to bribe the world to embrace their currency. And how they're bribing it is quite interesting and ambitious and a little bit scary. Actually, it's a lot scary in my view. According to TechCrunch.com, the startup, which was founded by OpenIO CEO Sam Altman and Alex Blania, want to put a crypto wallet and some of their currency onto every human's smartphone around the world. But in order to do that, they have to build a way to determine whether someone is a unique human. So WorldCoin is aiming to make their proof of personhood network in the least dystopian way possible, although to me it sounds to be the most dystopian way possible. That being said, it still requires scanning 1 billion people's eyeballs with a 5-pound chromatic sphere called the Orb. And it is a silver-looking sphere that is a little bit scary when you think about it, especially in a dystopian future that some bands and some movies have immortalized. The internet has developed with a very amorphous mesh of user networks. Bot networks operate alongside real people using their real identities, alongside users impersonating real people, alongside pseudonymous users. This can be a recipe for misaligned user incentives, as modern social media platforms have showcased. But when it comes to finance, it can also be a recipe for fraud and inequality. WorldCoin wants to avoid all of that while ensuring equitable distribution of their currency. Notice they use equitable, that word equitable, which is a little bit dangerous, and especially in terms of how that word has been stretched and utilized for wealth distribution and so-called income inequality and the like, based off of race and other factors. But they say that it's ensuring that each human on Earth only signs up for one wallet in their network. WorldCoin CEO Alex Blania tells TechCrunch that the currency is part of a larger effort to drive a more unified and equitable global economy, driven by the internet economy, something cryptocurrencies notably haven't nailed in the first several years. So when you scan your iris, well, it tells you a lot about you. You're unique. And of course, obviously, there's other factors in there too that they can use to scan and analyze to make it, quote, more equitable as opposed to more equal. There's a big difference between equitability and equality, which is unfortunate that they're looking for that term instead of equality, but I digress. WorldCoin started with a discussion that universal basic income will eventually be something that is very important to the world. All right, so there you go. We're already moving in another direction here. And in general, getting access to the internet economy will be much more important than is obvious at this point, Blania says. The WorldCoin itself is a Layer 2 Ethereum-based cryptocurrency that leverages the security of the Ethereum blockchain while having its own economy. Blania says WorldCoin chose to build on top of Ethereum largely because of its developer network, which he hopes will also adopt WorldCoin. While plenty of crypto proponents want Bitcoin to become the most people's first exposure to cryptocurrencies, Blania sees too many scalability issues with the currency compared to an Ethereum layer 2. Bitcoin isn't scalable to billions of people, Blania says. As we see today, it's very expensive because transactions are slow. In June, Bloomberg wrote up early details of the company's launch, which Blania notes was pretty annoying, acknowledging that what WorldCoin is doing is a complicated process with plenty of intricacies, but that he's confident this company will be able to communicate these to its global user base as it heads towards launch. And that's where we transition to the orb itself. Yes, indeed. The crypto startup has one more comically rigorous user acquisition flows, licensing their orb cameras to contractors across the globe who mainly go through the process of verifying each and every new user on the network in every city of the country on every continent on the globe. Pretty ambitious. In its most basic form, the company's proof of personhood onboarding flow works by capturing an image of the person's iris with the orb, converting that image into a hash code, a process WorldCoin says can't be reversed. And again, I repeat, it cannot be reversed. Checking with the database to ensure that a hash associated with that iris hasn't already been uploaded, and if it's unique, saving the hash while allowing users to generate a wallet in their app, from which the orb scans a QR code. What this amounts to is a network of verified users that is tied to pseudonymous wallet codes rather than real names, and a database that is filled with hashes rather than the actual eyeball photos. Privacy efforts, Blania hopes that WorldCoin can communicate clearly as it rapidly onboards users. And the eyeball or the orb itself is actually 5 pounds. It's a pretty big device. This is a very small silver orb, but the orb itself is silver in color. Blania says that the average contractors have been able to onboard over 700 users per orb per week in early testing across 4 continents: South America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. So notice where they're going. They're going to underdeveloped countries to do this, where people may not know or even understand what they're agreeing to with this. It's a little scary. They currently have 30 prototype devices out in the field and hope to add hundreds more in the coming months before ultimately shipping thousands of orbs per month if it goes to plan. What does seem apparent is that users in the U.S. might be waiting for a while to get their quality time with a WorldCoin orb. It might be that we delay launch in the U.S. until we have more clarity around the regulatory environments here, Blania notes. It's all an arduous process, but setting up millions of users with their first crypto wallets while simultaneously building out a network of verified internet users via the blockchain sounds like something that many crypto investors would break their piggy banks for. So WorldCoin launches, unique users will be given a share of the digital currency, whether that is a flat rate or dollar pegged amount isn't final, but it sounds like it will be the latter. All in all, 80% of the WorldCoin supply will be given to users on board to the service, while 10% will be reserved for the company and the remaining 10% going to the organization's investors. One of the major issues with giving users free money is that they tend to spend it. Blania says that will make efforts to ensure users can't immediately liquidate the entirety of their sign-up reward as WorldCoin scales its network and utility. Well, that's just it. It's about controlling the money that they give you, so it's not really yours if you can't spend it all. And so many red flags with this technology, and it's really pretty scary as more we read into this. WorldCoin is launching with $25 million in funding led by several of users, Coinbase, Day One Ventures, etc. The investment has made at a $1 billion valuation, but the unicorn signifier largely seems meaningless here, as Blania tells The Crunch that the company's IP will eventually be converted into a foundation investors are bankrolling the startup to get access to the 10% pool of investor capital in the WorldCoin token. The equity of the company itself should not matter at all, basically, Blania says. And ultimately, gaining attention for yet another new cryptocurrency is a massive challenge. Onboard billions of users is another one, as it is ensuring that proprietary hardware can decipher billions of eyeballs in drastically different onboarding environments. WorldCoin has plenty of huge challenges ahead, and some that likely won't be obvious until there are more orbs in the wild. Some of these issues can likely be solved by having access to ever-flowing investor capital, while other issues will simply arise from communicating how all of this will complicated stuff works. And nothing of this has ever been done, and the outcome is uncertain. Well, it sure is. I think you get a lot of people that are going to be kind of very wary of it, but the vision itself is quite scary, I think. And this kind of orb that's truly made of silver, solid silver, is something that I believe, as we see more of this technology become more and more intrusive to the point of scanning your individual genetic code, or essentially your iris, is quite troubling, which is why it is more incumbent that we're going to see silver in the form of bars, orbs, and other things, real silver, being used in transactions such as they have been for thousands of years. Silver is a metal that, it doesn't care what your iris looks like. It doesn't care about your genetic identity. It's not tied to any one person. Silver is a metal that has been known as money for thousands of years. And of course, we know now that it is not used in day-to-day transactions as currency, but as hibernating money. It could very well pop up again in the underground. If it ever came to a point where WorldCoin's vision comes true, well, it's ripe for a government and collusion with this company, kind of like what we're seeing now with big tech and the government kind of working hand in hand. Well, I could very much see how the government would salivate, pun intended, over a world, over this orb, and having billions of people. A global government, well, it's WorldCoin, and global dominance and global control of the cryptocurrency and what's been given to you, like helicopter money, and they can control that currency. And, that's the thing about orbs. There's no sides to them. They just go anywhere they want. And wherever they go, well, there's no stopping it, unless you have a handle on it. And that's the thing about something with no sides, is it's kind of its own thing. It's free and wild. But in this case, it can be very limiting to what's inside of it. But its reach is something that is having your genetic code, your irises in there, is something that should spark fear in all of us, that they can have that. And the other thing too is, what about people with no eyes? There are people born with no eyes. There are people who lose their eyes. And will it scan just one or both eyes? I would assume it would scan both eyes. But nonetheless, it is something that is out there. It's being talked about openly, and it's and this orb is really kind of a dystopian measure. Let me know what your thoughts are. I like true, pure 999 silver orbs that are uniquely cast or created. In this case, I'm all about that, but I'm not a fan of this new WorldCoin and the orb that goes along with it. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.